Hello and welcome to the first episode of the CraigSkitz podcast, a show entirely about talking with my friends and acquaintances from the last 10, 15 years and going and deep diving and laughing and telling stories that have never been told before online. I can't think of a better first guest, a better first episode than to kick it off talking to my longtime friend, James Rolfe, aka the Angry Video Game Nerd. Someone who is known literally worldwide, internet-wide as an icon for his long-standing Angry Video Game Nerd series. Started as the Angry Nintendo Nerd, but we'll get into that during the podcast. There's so many great stories that are going to be here. An outstanding hour. I hope if you're new to the channel, which you are because it's a brand new channel, brand new podcast, that you hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, make sure you subscribe there as well. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in. This show is brought to you by you. You are the supporter. You can support the show. You can actually listen to it ad-free and listen to it early by going to patreon.com/CraigSkitz. I can't tell you how much I am excited to do this. Thank you so much for allowing me to do this. Let's get into this, shall we? Episode 1 of the CraigSkitz podcast with James Rolfe. Hey, buddy, what's up?
Hey, good to talk to you.
Dude, we did the UHF thing a little bit ago, and it's like as soon as your face popped up, I was like, oh, there's a buddy. There's a buddy. I feel like I haven't seen you in forever, man. It's been been nuts.
Oh, it's cool. We got to meet in I guess where were we? We were near Dallas, I think.
Let's see. There was the last time I saw you was I think it was it a retro game expo or something?
The Retro Palooza.
That's right. Yeah, I saw.
By the way, I'm real sorry if I say the convention wrong because there's so many that have retro in the title.
Sure.
I get them all mixed up. So
yeah,
but it was in Texas. It was in like October of not last year,
3 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that sounds about right.
I think it was last time I actually saw you. But so yeah, it's good to see you, man.
Yeah.
How have things been? What's been going on?
Oh, just moving along, recording videos, trying to keep up.
How's the nerd? The nerd okay?
Nerd's still going after all these years.
Dude, isn't that crazy? Like, I think back to when we, when we first started talking. I'd like to see. Do you remember the first email I sent you?
It was it was in like 2006 sometime, very early in the year.
Yeah. I remember it being something like, I remember I saw you on YouTube, and like I think you had 2 videos up, and I think it was Castlevania. I think you had Castlevania up and maybe and another one, and it was before Ninja Turtles because Ninja Turtles was the first one you did for Screw Attack, and but I remember seeing you, and I was like, because I knew like we wanted to like work with people, and I was like, this guy's hilarious, right? This guy's like, it's really funny. And I remember showing you to a buddy at the time, and I was like, hey, what do you think of this guy? And he goes, I don't know, he's a little crass for me, I was like, this guy's hilarious. So I think like the first email I sent you was something like, hey man, saw you on YouTube. You want to like, I have this website that we're doing. You want to like be on it? And like that was pretty much it. And it was like super basic, and
things were so different back then too on the internet. Like this was really like Wild West of YouTube and stuff, because nothing was the way it was now. Like it wasn't really like, it was more experimental. It was just, nobody really knew what we were doing. We were just having fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was and I don't think we actually, like, there was no agreement or anything. It was just like, okay, you want to, like, I think every Wednesday or something like that.
Yeah, things were very loose. Yeah.
It was great, man. It was so fun and so easy, and now things have gotten so businessy with contracts and stuff. And it was just like, it's like a handshake agreement between 2 guys who like legitimately like had never met before, And I think that's really, really awesome. It's just fun, and I just think back of that and just how simple it was. Hey, you want to be on the website? It's like,
it's like, all right, well,
sure, yeah, sure, whatever. That sounds good.
And then there was a lot of people I remember, like Jonathan Mann, and Captain S,
Yeah, man.
you know.
We did a lot of stuff with a lot of great people. Do you remember the time? So you spent Jonathan Mann gamed you, who was
Hmm.
funny. Like so, gamed you. Jonathan Mann is like the nicest guy in the
Yeah.
world, right? Like he's so nice. Uh, and he has been writing, like his thing now is he's been writing a song like every day for the last like decade or what
Hmm.
that's his thing. He writes a song a day. He's always about like pushing his creative thing. But like right at the very tail end of Screw Attack, I did this like I tested out some like classics. I brought back some classic Screw Attack stuff, and I posted an episode of Games You on the Screw Attack website or Screw Attack YouTube channel, and people were mad. They're like,
Mm.
"Who is this guy? You can't say Jew. It can't be in a title." And it's like the song was all about like positivity and happiness, and people were like, "F you," and I was like, "Man, the internet has changed. The internet has changed
Ah,
so much."
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, remember that was his character name. I guess he just goes by Jonathan Mann
yeah,
now,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we all went out to was it E3 2009 8 where we all went out to maybe in 2007 where we all went out to E3 in LA and we ended up going up. We walked up to like the Hollywood sign.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, that was,
Yeah, it was Jonathan. He took us up to like a hill to see because we were like, how can we get a good view of the Hollywood sign? And he did his best.
yeah,
I'll
right.
say that he did his best because he was more local, so he knew, and we had fun. But it's funny now when I think back to that angle of trying to get the Hollywood sign. There's so many better angles. You can get going because you look at the shot in the video too, and it's so far
Yeah,
away.
right,
But
right.
like, I mean, you could get a lot closer. I mean, there's the question of like getting close legally, versus like obviously you don't want to like piss anyone off or like get in trouble. But like there's the one angle behind it, like you can walk a path and it's like a really long walk. You can go like behind the sign, but if you want to get the front angle, it's like even there's some spots if you just go up the trails where you can like legally get a pretty close uh like a pretty good view of the front. But yeah, it was just funny. Like we were just trying to like get the best shot we could at that time. And I remember we went to that bowling alley and
Yeah,
that was the first ever, yeah, that was the first ever fan meet and greet.
that's right. We
And
did that with Game Trail. That was like when we first. That must have been like that must have been 2007 because we started working with game trailers in 2007. And Brandon, do you remember Brandon Jones? Do you remember Brandon? Brandon was the guy who he now runs he works with a group called Easy Allies, but he was one of the guys who did like the voiceovers for game trailers, and he was like one of the guys who organized that the bowling meetup. And yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah,
no, that's awesome. Yeah, no, that's good to bring back the memories of it.
oh, it's fun.
Yeah.
I remember that was like we went there and people were there and we were like, what? Like people, why are people here for us? Like we're just making these videos. What people are showing up?
Yeah, yeah.
It was
I mean, I actually even wrote stuff from that down in my autobiography, my book, which will hopefully be out this year, because it was so important. Because it was like there's two incidents that I recall right now that are definitely in the book. Is when we we uh we went to like a burger place or something before like we did it was like one of the first things we did, like the first stops when we landed in LA. And we were doing that interview with game trailers. It was
yeah.
just kind of a little video interview for fun. And then that was my first time being on the West Coast in a long time, many years, and never would have expected to be recognized. It was the first time I was ever recognized by a fan in public, and you were there, and we were at the burger place, and he comes up and he's like, "Oh, Angry Video Game Nerd, I'm the biggest fan," and and then after he walked away, like I remember I just like looked at you and we were like, "Wow, like that was crazy," and
What
then
is
like
that?
yeah, and I remember you just smiling and and then we did the bowling alley meet and greet, and there was like 10 people showed up, but that was like insane at that time. I was like, wow, we could just like show up somewhere and we could tell people, because I mean, you just put out like a call on Screw Attack and was like, hey, we're gonna have this fan meet and greet, and then it was last minute. It was like
Yeah.
totally like the night of, and like 10 people were there, and they were just like, you know taking pictures and autographs and like asking me lots of questions. And I was like, wow, this is amazing that like these people all the way on the West Coast watch the videos. And you know, Jonathan was there playing his guitar, sitting on top of the air hockey thing.
Right. Yeah.
And and then even like friends who I didn't talk to in a long time. Remember Kyle was there, and Kevin, and my friend Mark showed up. Like a lot of people who were LA local. Um, so it was kind of just this cool gathering, and I think the game trailers people were there, and it was just everybody and anybody was just showing up, and we just had a fun time.
It was for me, that was like the first like, whoa moment. Like,
Yeah.
what? Like, what are we doing? I remember, yeah, it was all about bowling. We're just getting together, and do a little bowling, and
Yeah,
people
yeah.
showing up, and
Oh, we had a bowling game going, like, we
yeah.
were, but we kept, like I remember we kept, like, walking away, like, we were abandoning the game and just going to the bar,
Uh-huh.
then we go back and throw a few more. Nobody cared, who nobody's keeping score. We were just kinda like I'd throw a you know, a bowling ball, and then I'd turn around just to drink a beer, but wouldn't even look at what the ball did, and, like, we it was just totally loose, and yeah, it was fun.
Oh man, it was good times. Like, those are the type of things that I like. Been doing this for like going on 15 years now, and that, like, those are the things that I like truly like appreciate, remember, and like cherish, is like those things. Because especially then, like, you think about YouTube and how much it's grown. Because at the time, YouTube was not a place where you found, it wasn't like today. YouTube was a place where you found like cat videos and guys getting hit in the balls, right? When they're, it was like America's Funniest Home Videos, right?
Mhm,
And it certainly wasn't the platform it was, which is why we didn't make things for YouTube. We made things for
mhm,
Screw Attack and game trailers, and it was, there were places outside of YouTube where you could be seen. And you think about
mhm,
like, YouTube and, quote unquote celebrity today, YouTube celebrity, and how, you think of these events where these people are just getting mobbed, and this was at a time where, it was like, we're doing this thing tonight, and a handful of people show up, and it was like probably some of the most memorable times that we could have had. It was so fun. So it
absolutely, yeah.
was good.
Yeah, and there's like two that come right up to the top of my head was going to E3 all those years. There was the private concert with the Who, and then there was backstage with Miyamoto. Those were
Yes.
like the two that if I were to like single it down, the two that you could, you know, easily tell somebody about.
Mhm.
Um those were pretty good.
The Who concert, man, like, so that was,
Yeah.
I think that was an EA thing,
Mhm.
and I had some contacts there as Activision or something, and somebody was like, "You want to go to this concert?" And it's like, yeah, they I don't think they told us who was playing beforehand,
Mhm.
right? I think it was a mystery, and then we show up, and it's like, it's the Who, and I
Yeah.
remember like standing next, like we were right next to each other, and you can't hear anything. That when this, it's probably fit 3,000 people,
Mhm.
tops, and I'm just like, what is happening? Like we're sitting there just like looking back at each other. And, oh,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
so fun.
I remember like the secret was let out like shortly before because like during that day I saw people like wearing Who shirts
Mhm.
and it started getting around a little bit like oh the Who's playing but I really did not believe it like I thought it was a joke like I actually did not believe it. I'm like oh yeah you know the Who's playing. I'm like yeah yeah right. And then as it started getting closer and closer to the event it was like hey you know this is actually happening and I'm like no way.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, The Who was gonna walk out there? And then there was even, like, a rumors, it was like, "Oh, Coldplay is gonna come out," but that was
Right.
just rumors. It was like people are just throwing different band names around. Like, seriously, like, we're gonna watch The Who come out, and they just came right out, and they just rocked, like, really hard. It was a full show.
Yeah.
I thought it was like, "Okay, maybe they'll play a few songs," and then because it was a big promotion for, either Guitar Hero or a rock band.
Mhm.
And,
Did it really good. I really I really remember now. So it
yeah, yeah.
was one of those two things, but oh,
Yeah, yeah.
oh gosh.
And, I remember it was a loose show too. I remember one time, uh, Roger's mic stand came apart, and he just, like, was just laughing it off, and then another time, Pete's string on his guitar broke, and they had to just stop the song, and he goes, "Does that happen in the game?" And then at one point, they didn't even introduce them or anything. They just one time said, they were like, "Yeah, so we're a Who band, a Who cover band, Undercover."
That's so good. So
Yeah.
funny, man.
And then Miyamoto, it was like, we were, I don't know, maybe you remember a little more about like, we were, it wasn't like we didn't talk to Miyamoto or anything. We were just backstage
Yeah.
with the whole crew.
It was just
Uh,
being within proximity of this guy. You know,
yeah,
it wasn't like, hey, Mr. Miyamoto. It
mhm.
was just like, oh, there he is. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think we were like I think you were recording like the Nintendo um press conference,
Mhm.
and I think for some reason we were recording it from backstage. Do you remember how that happened?
Man, I don't. I really don't.
Yeah,
I don't
but
remember.
it happened, and then so we're back there, and then Miyamoto comes out like with his entourage, single file. They just like walk single file, and it's like, yeah, these guys are the shit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then they plug in their stuff, and then Miyamoto, I remember right before he's going out on stage, he was kind of just standing there ready to go out, and watching him and like how he was like mentally preparing himself to go out there. He was doing like some kind of yoga thing. And I just remember that. I'm like, wow, this guy, he's got a he's a big deal. And like here he is, he's about to like go do his thing. And this is what he looks like before he goes out. This is what he's doing to get himself into, the zone.
Mhm.
I'm like, wow, that's all. I'm like, wow, would this be a good time to go up and ask for an autograph? I'm like, it'd be the worst time.
I,
Yeah, but it was so funny because we're standing there like right, near him, and
I mean,
it was cool. It was just an
how
interesting
close?
backstage view.
I mean, how close are you to, how often are you that close to, like your idol slash greatness slash this
Mhm.
icon, and the natural instinct is to go and be like, dude, you're the best.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
so great. Thank you so much for everything. But
And nobody did. Nobody
yeah,
did.
nobody did
Yeah.
exactly. And you want to treat them with, the natural instinct is to run up, but you got to treat them with respect, and
Mhm.
the best way to respect him is to not go up and do that,
Yeah, yeah.
they'll appreciate that a lot more. But
Mhm.
yeah, that was great. We went to several. I think we went to what, two or three E3s together. It
Yeah,
was like an annual thing for a while,
yeah.
and now E3 doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
It's like,
You think it's gonna exist again, or is it just like
yeah,
nobody knows?
I don't know, man. I've been saying E3 is
Yeah.
going to die for the
Mm.
last 8 years. Like,
You were telling me then, actually, even when
yeah,
we were there.
yeah. I was like,
I think yeah, because when I showed up to E3, I think, you guys were telling me that, like, that, this isn't the same. It wasn't, and I believe you, but I had a blast either
yeah.
way.
Well,
So
so let's see. Let me think back. The first E3 I went to was 2006, and I vividly remember that one because I walked in and there was a giant skate ramp, like a giant half pipe skate ramp, and I was like,
mhm,
"Whoa, this is E3." And E3 2006 was apparently so crazy that the following year they scaled it down to like this thing called E for All, and it sucked, and it was super limited. And I went to that, and it was super
mhm,
boring. Then the following year, 2008, they scaled it back up because everyone liked the glitz and the glamour and all that stuff. So
mhm.
the first year we went was probably 2008, 2009, something like that. And but that was a lot of good memories. I remember walking around with you, and we saw. I'm sure you don't remember this, but I remember going and we played Batman. There was a new Batman game. I think it was Batman Arkham Asylum or something that was coming out.
Mhm.
And I remember going in and playing that game with you, and we both played it in like this demo booth, this demo area, and we both got done. We are like, eh, it's okay, And then that game came out, and it was like game of the year, and
Oh,
I remember thinking back, I was like, man, we were really off. Like
oh, wow.
we were really off about that. But oh man,
That's funny because I don't remember that. Like,
yeah.
I remember playing a lot of games, though. That's the thing. It's like I remember we played a ton of games that I like thought was cool, but never played again after E3 for whatever reason, just because like I kind of just forgot about it, or you know didn't get the time.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and that happens a lot with games at E3. Is they'll be announced, they'll be playable on the floor, and then you'll never hear from them again. You know, like
yeah,
it's just crazy how that comes out. E3 was a different beast. And I do think it's obviously going to change, and I think a lot of that has
yeah,
to do with the internet, and the same reason why we're allowed to have this conversation and not be in the same room is the same reason why E3 is
yeah,
changing
yeah.
and such. So,
Do you remember, I'm wearing the Mortal Kombat hat. Do you remember, Ed Boon? Remember meeting him?
dude, I
Yeah.
remember interviewing Ed Boon,
Yeah.
and I interviewed him for I don't think it was Mortal Kombat 9, the reboot. Maybe it was. I don't. But
Yeah, yeah.
I remember interviewing him, and number one, thinking it was awesome. And
Yeah.
number two, we were standing in front of this like a step and repeat, like the things with
Mhm.
logos behind it. And um, as an interviewer, I remember, you always try to stay close to somebody, right? Stay close to
Mhm.
them, keep them close to where it's kind of an
Yeah.
intimate look. And he kept scooting away, scooting away, scooting away, and so I kept getting closer and closer and closer. So
Oh.
we started in the center of this step and repeat background, and by the time we were done, we were all the way over here because he kept moving away from me. And
Okay.
somebody came up to me afterwards and goes, Ed Boon is like a real big germaphobe. So next time you interview him, like don't get so close to him. And
Oh,
so
okay.
so I felt like
Okay.
really bad afterwards. But
Oh, yeah.
but
Do you remember, I don't remember if it was the same interview or not, but there was one time when, you had me ask him a question once, and, I was like, since I'm the nerd, I gotta ask him about Mortal Kombat on, like, I gotta ask him about Batman Forever on Super Nintendo and Sega
oh sure.
Genesis ripping off the Mortal Kombat fight mechanic and everything,
Mhm.
and he didn't really have any comment. He kinda, like, laughed, but, um, I remember the first thing he said, he, like, shook my hand and said, "Big fan," and I was like, What, are you fucking kidding me?"
Right.
Like, um, so I don't know if you have that on video or not still after all these years, but
I think that's probably one of my biggest regrets, right? Is we had a huge archive of stuff, and all that stuff was
Mhm,
on YouTube. Um, all that stuff was on YouTube, and um, once Rooster Teeth switched Screw Attack over to Death Battle, they
mhm.
privated all those videos, so you can't find like any of those videos
Oh, you
on
mean
YouTube.
private, like,
Yeah,
they
on
used to be
YouTube.
online, but now.
Yeah, they're on.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. But,
and
I mean, do you have, like, the tapes or anything like that?
I don't know. I'd have to do some big digging.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
one of those
know.
things, yeah.
Yeah, I would have to do some big
You
digging.
probably have so much after all these years, so,
Yeah,
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 it's
for
hard to
sure.
find
Yeah,
stuff.
there is an old. It's funny. There's a channel that popped up that apparently saved a lot of the old Screw Attack videos.
Okay.
Um, that I think it's called like the Screw Attack Archive, and they I watch it because it's fun to go down like memory lane, and I think it has like less than 1,000 subscribers, and but there's a video that of you and I
Mhm,
going up when we were up in Philly
mhm.
trying Geno's and Pat's.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I remember going up and doing that, and it's like this 2.5 minute long video of us just
Uh-huh.
like eating cheesesteaks, and it's cut like
Yeah.
super fast paced, and I like it's just kind of fun. It's just kind of a
Yeah,
fun
yeah.
video of like you can't make that video today. You can't make a 2.5 minute long video about three schlubs eating Geno's and Pats in Philly,
Yeah, yeah.
But it's good stuff.
There's other things I remember, like, do you remember the Microsoft party with Peter Moore?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
and, he was there. I don't think we talked to him for, like, a little bit, um, but I remember somebody taking a picture of me and Peter Moore, like, flexing by the pool,
Right.
and I don't think I've ever seen the picture. I don't know if it's out there at all, but it would be funny to see that again.
Man. Yeah. I remember. You remember Cheapy D, Dave? So Cheapy D, he was there at the party with us, and because I remember a picture of us standing with Peter Moore,
Mhm,
and like now Peter Moore owns like a soccer. He's like a soccer team general manager or something over in England. Like
mhm,
the guy's career is like it's crazy. He was like head of Xbox, and now he runs this like a general manager or something for a soccer club or something.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, that was crazy. It was like one of those things where you go, "Oh, that guy runs Xbox." Okay, you know, it was nuts. What do you remember about that night in particular? Do you just remember that picture?
Um, I remember the presentation of the parties were so much fun. Like, it was just cool to see, like, so Microsoft had, like, I guess they rented like a pool or whatever, and there was like the pool was lit green and everything was green, like Xbox. And they had like tents where you could play games and stuff. But it was cool because it was at night at a pool and with just this green ambient light. And it was like free food and drinks and stuff. And I just remember just being like, wow, this is cool, just being here,
Yeah, it's good times, good times. Like the amount of
Yeah.
the amount of like just parties, like then the free food is like the best. Free food and free drink. You're just
Yeah.
walking around, yeah, just toss
Yeah.
it in your mouth, and it's like whatever.
Yeah, like, we just never knew what was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like I remember like some of like I mean, I just some of my best memories associated with like making videos and stuff was all these trips. And there
Sure.
was the E3 trips, there was the Comic-Con trips. Um, there was and it was always like that where you didn't know what you were gonna see.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't know where the night was gonna go or what kind of event you were gonna end up at. Because
Those are the best
I guess it
nights.
was, yeah. And I guess, did you get like invites to those? Like, how did those? Because I guess they're all different,
Yeah.
like circumstances.
Yeah, like the PR people, people who run the
Yeah,
events,
yeah.
things like that, and you send an email or a text or something and say, hey, can we get into these, and show up
Mhm,
and you get a +1, and hey, we got
mhm.
James here, whatever, and oh yeah, you're +1. Yeah,
Yep.
E3 was so fun. I've actually,
Yeah.
I think, let's see, the last I didn't go. Did I go? I don't think I went last year, but
Mhm.
the last one I went to, I was like, I think I'm good. I think I'm good with E3. Like I think
Okay, yeah.
I think I'm done going to E3s because it's like so much work, and
Yeah.
honestly, everything that you can get is between Twitter and social media and Facebook and stuff. There's really like no reason to go because it's all there like instantaneously now, and you feel like you're there. But I mean, you're right. The parties like were the best part for sure, and just going around and
Yeah.
like who can say they went and saw a private concert for the Who?
Yeah, yeah.
Like there's such a small handful of people who get to say that. It's crazy, man. It's
Yeah, I remember I told my dad about that, and he was, like, pissed. He was like, "You got to see The Who just now? Fuck you."
oh, it's so good.
He's like, "Oh, I gotta tell my brother about that." Like, he was just, like, going on and on about it.
Oh, it's so great.
Yeah.
Man, I remember going.
Actually, I saw The Who with my dad, after that.
Oh,
Like,
did
they
you?
came to Philly one time. Um, I think I got postponed actually because like, one of them was sick or something. But then, I remember I went with my dad after that, and, that was, like, a few it's weird seeing bands age after all the years because when um, you see them one year and then you see them a long time later, and you notice how they age throughout the years. It's like you're kind of like aging with them, I guess.
I will get back to the podcast in just a little bit, but first I want to remind you that this podcast is brought to you by you via patreon.com/CraigSkitz. You can get access to this podcast way early every week. You can actually listen to the podcast that's going to air on Mondays every Friday before they come out, and listen to them ad free if you want. So head over there and check it out. I'm also doing some special stuff right now. If you subscribe to this channel right now, you get a Twinkie. No, I'm just kidding. You don't get a Twinkie. But I'll tell you what, you subscribe and you get notified every single time an episode goes live Monday at noon here on YouTube and iTunes or wherever you're listening to this or watching it. Thank you so much for your support. Once again, patreon.com/CraigSkitz keeps this show alive. I would love to do this more than just once a week, and I can with your help. Let's get back to the show. So do you have you mentioned like obviously the Who, but do you have like a favorite band that, I don't know, music is pretty,
Oh, yeah.
do you have a favorite band that you've always followed? Because you're a metal dude. You've always been a metal dude.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, I'm into like, mostly what I listen to tends to be in the rock category. I mean, I'm like, I like everything,
Hmm.
but, everybody says that I like everything. It's like, if you were just to make it specific, I mean, it's typically in the rock category. It's what I mostly listen to. So it could be like classic rock like The Who, or it could be metal like Rob Zombie. It could be, anything in that spectrum.
Sure.
But my favorite has been Black Sabbath because they're like the originators. They're the ones that started heavy metal, basically. Even though they weren't metal themselves, they were like proto metal. They're the ones that got it started. Because before them, if you just look through all the bands that existed, and then Black Sabbath appears, it's just so different. It's just so dark and weird, and like nobody was doing anything like that. It was like they just didn't really care to follow any trends. They just did what they did. And I think my favorite guitar player is Tony Iommi, and that's because he just has such a unique guitar tone. Um, so yeah, just the sound of his guitar is like the best thing in the world. So
That's great. That's all.
yeah.
You know, I was thinking about the time that I think it was the same time we went up to go eat those Phillies, the Philly cheesesteaks.
Mhm.
We went up there. I went up to your place, and there's a game. Sorry, I just totally went off left field based off you talking about
Okay.
talking about. But
Yeah.
it got me thinking about the time we were. Do you remember? I think we were sitting in your living room, and there was you had like an arcade emulator or something or whatever it was. Somebody gave it to you, and I
Mhm.
remember sitting there, and that's the first time we all played Super Ninja Baseball Batman.
You're right. Yeah.
Do you remember that? Because I remember
I did, yeah.
scrolling through the games, and I think I remember like I think Chad was like
You and
super.
Chad were there,
Yeah,
yeah, and we
we're like Super Ninja Baseball Batman. Like, what is this game?
yeah, it should be I think it's just Ninja Baseball Batman,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
it should have super in front of it though.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
all it
yeah.
needs. But yeah, we were like just going through these random games on these like arcade emulators. It was like, on like a modded Xbox.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
just all different arcades. And and then we found that and was like, wow. And I actually finally got to play the real machine, like the real arcade of it.
Really?
Yeah, like a while later, it was at least I'm pretty sure it was an original machine.
Oh
It
man.
was at Galloping Ghost
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah, yeah. Up in
yeah,
Chicago, right?
Chicago.
Yeah,
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 and I think they have the biggest arcade collection.
dude.
I mean, there's another one too that I think has
Well, there's Galloping Ghost is kind of thought of as like the A number one arcade like in the United States,
mhm,
and they have so many prototypes and stuff up there. They're in Fun Spot out on the East Coast. It's Fun Spot's kind
Fun
of
Spot.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Galloping Ghost and Fun Spot. And Fun Spot apparently with the pandemic and everything, they've apparently been having a hard time
I bet.
keeping
Yeah.
their um but yeah, man, I remember playing Ninja Baseball Batman, and I remember I remember Chad and I were just like, oh, this is going to be a nerd video. I remember you like, this has got to be a nerd video or something like that. And it was
Yeah.
just one of those things as we were playing it, it was like, what is this amazing game? And now that like
Yeah.
really thanks to the video that you made on it, and like
Mhm.
really that experience of all sitting down, seeing the title there and then playing it, that game has
Yeah.
caught on in this it's like almost cultish. It's kind of thought of as like one of the best beat 'em ups ever now, arcade beat 'em ups because of
Is it really?
yeah, like
Yeah.
people like it's
I mean, it should be.
yeah, like people think
Wow.
like arcade beat 'em ups, and that's like I've seen it in people's top tens before, and it was a game that was totally obscure prior to that, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really
Wow.
bizarre.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Have you thought about like obviously, the nerd character, it's thought of as like this this iconic character online. Have you thought about like the impact that the nerd character and just like you as a whole have made just across the internet? Is that something that you like actually thought about?
Oh,
I know it's kind of a weird question, but like it's I don't know, it's something that I feel like
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it should be asked, because it's like
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. You've made a big impact on people, and a lot of people are like, well, I was inspired by the angry nerd.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. Like, I mean, yeah, I'm thinking where to go. I could talk past or present. I guess I'll go past first.
However you
Like
want.
like in the past, it was always like, making movies and making all kinds of different things. It was kind of always in my mind that the main goal was just to get it seen and just for people to enjoy it. That was kind of just the end goal. Um, Never really thought about it too hard. Like if I were to go back, I'd say, if as long as you're making it, as long as you're doing what you want to do, you've already succeeded. But there was that one missing piece of the puzzle where I just wanted people to see it and enjoy it. So I think when we got to that bowling alley where we had those 10 fans there, that already was enough for me, where I was just like, I succeeded. Somebody enjoyed it. I'm glad. So there was closure on that. But throughout the years, just seeing more and more, it's kind of gone to a new level where now this new level is like, say right now during this pandemic, like I'll have people email me and say like, hey, I'm a paramedic and I'm like, you know, I got the virus and I'm quarantined from my family right now. And the only thing getting me through right now is watching your videos.
Mm.
And I'm like, wow, that's awesome. So a lot of people write me stuff like that, and all with different stories, like all unique situations. But basically, the gist is always somebody's going through a bad time, and the videos are helping out. It's like giving them a laugh. Like people, in the military, people all over. Like it's crazy. So I'm really glad that it went, that far. I would have never imagined like doing a video about Castlevania 2 and then going to like people telling you that you changed their lives and stuff. I would have never imagined.
You mentioned Castlevania 2. Kind of the origin story of that was you made that just to kind of make some buddies laugh, right? That was the whole idea behind the origins of the angry Nintendo nerd at the time, right?
Yeah, or not even. I think at the very time it didn't even have a name, but it was just just another thing. It was just like I did this Simon's Quest review, and then I put the Jekyll and Hyde video after it as like a, you know like now I'm going to show the character on screen, and it was just a little joke. I didn't think I was going to go back to it at all, but it was when I did the Karate Kid one. It was just kind of, I don't know, it came up again, and I was like, I feel like maybe doing one more now that YouTube exists, and just put them on there as the Angry Nintendo Nerd Trilogy. Like that was it, just a trilogy of little videos, you know, just hoping to somebody would get a laugh out of it, and that was about it. But that wasn't it.
That was not it. That was not it. Oh man.
Yeah.
Do you golly, I remember talking to you early on. I think it was definitely before we started working with game trailers. I remember mentioning like, hey, what about changing your name to like the video game nerd? Because the Nintendo nerd, like it kind of was kind of
Yeah,
limiting. And I was like, what do you think about changing the name? And
yeah,
obviously it worked out pretty well. But
yeah.
I remember that conversation, and
That's right.
it
We
was
even put a like a call out on Screw Attack, like on the forums or something, where we were like polling the fans to see what name they wanted.
mm,
And I don't remember who came up with it, to be honest. I don't remember if it was one of us or if it was one of the fans, but I feel like video game just made the most sense.
yeah,
Um, but it seemed like because the song already existed, and that was like
yeah,
this would be a problem. Where now it's not a problem, but back then it was like, but you don't have that Nintendo nerd, that alliteration
sure,
that goes with it, and like how's it going to go with the song? Like I remember people were complaining about like this is the worst thing ever. I mean, anytime you change
sure,
something, it's
sure,
the
sure.
worst thing ever. It's like this is going to be the worst. Like you're going to change the name. Like how dare you? And now it's like, oh, remember when he was the angry Nintendo nerd? So
Yeah, for like I don't know, 5, 6 episodes, something like that, however many it was. It's crazy. I remember
yeah,
the
I
logo.
think it was like 10 or something. I forget. I could look it up, but anyway.
But it's such like in the grand scheme of like just the nerd character, it was such
Mhm.
a the origin stories of it, and but it
Yeah.
obviously worked out because we wouldn't have like CDI episodes and
Mhm.
all it worked out well.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember the logo as well, the Angry Nintendo Nerd logo and Angry Video Game Nerd logo. Um, I remember those were made by one of our guys. He was actually just a friend of ours. His name was Wes,
Yeah.
and Wes made the second version of our website. So when the initial Screw Attack website was just like this black website that had like 3 columns and a header, right? And then
Mhm.
like over the weekend, he just made he just made the next version of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
website, and we're like, okay, cool. And he made like logos and everything for all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
shows, and that logo still stands up. Like
It
that's still the
does.
same
So,
logo,
yeah, big thank you to Wes because
right? Oh man,
yeah.
crazy, crazy. It's just
Yeah, he did message me not too long ago. I think it
did
was like
he?
few, yeah, it was like a few. I mean, it's a little while ago now. I think it was like quite a few years ago. But he just said he was happy that I'm still using it all this
Oh,
time.
that's cool.
To make sure we credited him in the nerd movie, which was interesting because I remember the logo had a lot of people credited as it because there was the person who designed the logo, which was Wes. But then there was the person who did uh, like a physical mock-up of it, and then there was a person who did like a computer graphic animation for it, and there was like a lot of people who worked on that logo throughout the film in different ways. So I wouldn't want to name them all because I'm going
Sure.
to forget
Of
somebody for
course. Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, but Wes was the originator.
I think the crazy thing about it is just the idea of how many, when people think of like the nerd, they think of Screw Attack, they think of really anybody who makes stuff online. It's so much more goes in to just it's more than just one person. There's so many different hands that go into helping things work. And
Hmm.
it's something that a lot of people don't see. They don't, Cinemasker
Yeah.
is there's so many people working, and helping create nerd episodes and
Hmm.
rental reviews and everything that you guys do. It's crazy. So it's cool. It's neat to think about.
Yeah.
Do you I'm gonna be really honest with you, and
Yeah.
and and there's legitimately one thing that I regret about our relationship,
Okay.
and this is I feel bad about this. When
What
the
could it be? Now I'm in suspense.
Yeah, 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 when the nerd and the critic
Hmm.
became a thing, and uh, I I remember having a conversation with you because you were doing stuff with us, and the critic was this new character that I was like, James is going to make this guy's career, like that was my thought, is like James is going to literally make this guy's career. And they were their company had were kind of seen as the competitor to us, right, to Screw Attack. And I remember having a conversation with you, and I was like, man, you got to tell me, like, if you're gonna do these things, you got to tell me. And I remember you being like, I just don't want to do this anymore, like, because you felt like you were creating drama, and I was just like, wasn't upset. I just didn't understand. I was like, why are they doing this? And like they didn't. I was trying to be like, well, do you want to trying to do like a DVD with them? And that's an entirely different story on another day and for another day. But I just felt bad because I felt like by having that conversation like this, it is like a business conversation. Um, but I remember feeling really
Which
bad.
it's all good, by the way. But go ahead.
Yeah, I know, and I appreciate that. But I felt bad because I felt like I took a little bit of your love out of it. And that's something that I like never ever wanted to do. So I know you said it's cool, but I never really said I'm sorry because I didn't really feel like I needed to apologize for it. But at the same time, I do. At the same, but that's like legitimately, I think, like my only regret with our relationship, because I've always valued you as a buddy. But that was the one time, especially with our relationship starting off as just like this, hey, you want to do stuff together? That thing,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and like that's where for the first time the business kind of came in and like reared
Uh-huh.
its head. And
Yeah, yeah.
but anyways,
Um, oh yeah, I mean it's all good. It's yeah, definitely something I have not thought of in a very long time. So it's like it's one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, yeah, I remember now. But
yeah.
like, yeah, like sorry to get in between things. Like sometimes I'm
Oh,
like, I feel um, like I know, like I guess you and them didn't have the best, relationship. So it was kind of just like at that moment in time, uh, I tend to, um, I don't know. I just have a certain effect sometimes on people where I become the subject of what they're fighting about, and then I then
yeah.
I just it
Well,
kind of feels like two parents, and you're like fighting about something that it's almost like you're sort of related to it, but you're not related to it, So,
yeah, that but the
um,
thing I think that was really for me, it's not that we didn't have a good relationship, it's that we had zero relationship. Like
mhm,
when the guy with the glasses launched, I remember reaching out and specifically with the nerd and critic feud, I wanted to make like a DVD for it, and I was like, there's so much
Mm.
here, and we could do a DVD and all sorts of stuff. And I remember having a conversation with one of their guys, and he was like, it was the most put off I've ever been in like a conversation. The guy was like the biggest like jerk ever, and I just didn't understand. Like I didn't understand. I was like, what is happening? Why? And that was literally the last conversation I ever had with him. And I think that was the whole conversation was the whole thing was just so confusing to me. And
Yeah.
uh
I'm sorry.
oh
I'm
dude,
sorry to
no
hear
no no
that
no
didn't go
no
well, but like,
no.
like I said, yeah, I'm not at all
Oh,
related to any of
oh, I
that,
know,
so I
dude.
don't know what.
I know. And like I said,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
just one of those things where like I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about our relationship and stuff. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot by any means, but
Mhm.
anyways, well,
Yeah.
like I said, I feel
I've always been such a drama-free guy that I think whenever drama does happen near me, I just get very pissed off. So it's just
yeah.
like,
But I
yeah,
remember
I'm usually, yeah.
yeah, I remember you being mad, and I was like the nerd character, like people. I mean, I think people get it now, but like
Mhm.
you and the nerd are 180 degrees the opposite. Like you do, James. Like I've seen you upset once, and that was it. Right outside of that, you're a cool, mellow guy, and that's where like I think that's why I felt so bad because of it, because I was like, James doesn't get mad, James doesn't get upset,
Uh,
you know. So,
I
but
think I'm always just like I've been in certain situations, like in family or whatever. It's like, all right, look, everybody, just chill the fuck out,
yeah,
okay? Chill the fuck out,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So I sometimes I play that role, I guess.
I hear that. I hear that.
Well,
Well, I'm gonna pivot over this way real quick.
mhm.
Do you like have I feel like, you know, I got you here and I want to just kind of talk and tell stories and stuff, but I feel like some people just want to know, like, do you have a favorite episode that you've ever done? Or
Of nerd.
yeah, or maybe like let's do like a best and a worst, like a least favorite episode. I don't say worst
Oh wow.
because everyone's like, "Oh, do you have a best?" But like, do you have a what's your best? Then let's go like your least favorite.
Hmm. Let's see. Well, I now I'm thinking because I did a top 10 recently. I think not too recent, like it was a few years ago now, but where I did a clip collection of my favorite episodes. Um, and I forget which one I put. I think it may have been. It's probably the Rob the Robot one still. I
Really?
think it's still that one. Yeah. Um, but there's a lot of close ones. There's like the Mega Man one was good. The like Berenstain Bears was pretty high up because the whole conspiracy stuff.
Sure, sure.
There's a lot of them. I think I still go with Rob, I think,
What about
because
least?
at that time,
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, just at the time it was made, it was like the most epic episode, and there was like so much going into it. Like it had a whole like story involved. But I don't know. I mean, I like a lot of them in all different ways. But at the least favorite, I never really think about it much. I guess the least favorites are just the ones I forget the most.
Sure.
Like I feel like like Master Chew and the Drunkard Who, like it had the shit pickle in it. Like, so I guess you at least had that. But I remember it was one of those like really quick ones where I think at that time we were posting them like every Friday.
Yeah, it was like
Like,
every week. Yeah, it was crazy.
yeah, there was like 6 in a row. I
Hmm.
think that was the most frequent the episodes ever were. And I think during that time, I think those were some of the most subpar ones because they were so quick.
Hmm.
But I think you also had like, I think Top Gun came out around that time, and that was like a good, like, you know, for what it was, um that was a classic one. Uh like a lot of the tropes kind of came out of that episode. But there was a lot of really quick ones. I think like Mick Kids was really quick, and then um but then it went into like then it got more elaborate with Friday the 13th and stuff like that. So um
Man, it's crazy
yeah.
to think about, like just all the journey that just the nerd as a whole has been on. Do you feel like, you know, obviously Cinemassacre, like it's your company, right? It's obviously the you know the nerd is like this centralized character, but more than anything, like you're, I think people more than the nerd, like people know and appreciate like James, like more than anything, just because they see you as more than the nerd now. Were you ever concerned about the idea that people would only see you as the nerd and not James?
um I mean, if it wasn't for the nerd, they wouldn't see a lot of my other stuff. So, um, Like, no, I mean, I think the only regret is that, like, I guess, just that I spend so much time making the nerd that I don't get to do a lot of the other things that I really want to do. But really, the nerd has helped more than anything because if it wasn't for that, then I wouldn't have been able to do the other stuff. And then, of course, if it wasn't for the other stuff, I wouldn't have done nerd. I wouldn't have had that background before I did it. So it's like it all fits together. Like it's all part of the same thing, really. Um,
Well, what's the you
you know,
said there's the nerd sometimes doesn't allow you to do the things that you want to do. Like, what's the dream project? At the end of the day, if like someone is like, I mean, you made a movie, right? You've had
yeah.
you've had this web series that's been successful longer than literally any web series in existence.
Hmm.
You've got this bucket list of things that, like, if you were to go to
Hmm.
any, like literally any content creator, they'd be like,
Yeah.
he's done it all. But like, so what's
Yeah.
the big what's the big project? Is there what is it that you would want to do that you not necessarily can't do right now, but
Yeah. It's definitely a feature horror film. When I say horror, it's not even really like and it's not like an exploitive type of horror. Like it's not really not a ton of like gore effects and stuff like that, but it's really like a really slow moving atmospheric horror film where it's kind of just like about a story, just about like somebody's personal journey, and then it goes into like a horror turn. But like the main theme of my work tends to be nostalgia and how nostalgia can go wrong, or just sort of like this depression over the past that you can't get back, you know?
sure.
Um, I kind of just like exaggerate. Like the character Board James is a perfect example. How he's like completely stuck on these old games that he grew up with. Like he's still being a kid, but he's also like this psychopath. Um, so there's like a horror element to it. So anyway, the horror film is something I wrote years ago. Come back to it every now. I make it a little bit better, revise it, but um, even before the pandemic, it was tough to find time to make it. Like already it seemed like this isn't going anywhere. Like I'm not going to be able to start this because, you know, it's different before you have kids. Like I
Of
made the
course.
nerd movie before I had kids. I mean, my first child was born during uh post production basically, or like the final leg of production. But now it's just much harder. Where like family's priority. So I don't know when I'd ever get to that. And then the pandemic happens, and now it's just like, well, nobody's making movies for a while.
Sure.
So uh, I really have no idea when I'm going to be able to do that. But that is the number one goal as far as like projects go, where I really want to do this. But right now, I don't see how, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But some year, I'm still holding out. That one year, I'm gonna get to make it.
Can I make a cameo?
I'm sure. I'm trying to think. I'm like actually thinking now. It's like it's a very small cast
can,
because I wrote it where it's like, you know.
can I just be a dead body or get killed or something? Someone slice my
Okay.
throat or I just want to die, or just whatever.
Okay.
just think about me in there.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. So how has you spoke of like family, dude. Like I hear you. I hear you. Like families,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah. 'Cause you got the same thing.
I
Yeah.
got two girls,
Hmm.
wife, and two
Yeah.
dogs, the whole thing, right?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
family has played such a big role, obviously, in how I've changed my, my work, how I work. And you said it's obviously changed a lot in how you work.
Hmm.
The idea of like, it used to be 16-hour days, whatever, and it would go to bed at, for me, I'd go to bed at 2, 3, 4 in the morning and wake up at, 9 or 10 and go back and do it again. And
Hmm.
obviously that has changed with, now an 8 and a 6-year-old. And now it's more about like soccer practice
Hmm.
and things like that. When you, with your kids, uh, I guess, do they do extracurricular activities?
Yeah.
So when you as a parent, have you taken them, have you had any parents recognize you?
Um.
Because that'd be awesome, right? Like
Oh yeah. I mean,
you're like
we try to keep that very separate, but sometimes like, but it's innocent. Like, so we'll be at like an amusement park or something like that, and somebody recognized me in public. So it's not a big deal.
sure.
Like I've been recognized in public a lot, so I don't get recognized to the point where it's a problem to go out or anything like a major celebrity where like they can't go to a grocery store or anything like
Sure,
that.
sure.
So it's nothing like that. Like I think I have the perfect balance of like the right amount of fame that I need. Like I don't need any more. So I think I'm totally good exactly where I'm at.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have a you mentioned like I know you're a big George Romero fan, right? Is that
Hmm.
right? Do you have a
Yeah.
like if you could work with somebody in particular, that is on a higher level of fame, do you have like a number one person that you'd want to work with?
Oh yeah. Let me think.
I mean, because you've had a lot of cameos in the nerd videos, but outside of the nerd, do you have anybody that you've always wanted to work with that you haven't been able to yet?
Hmm. Like as in, I guess it depends what way. Like it,
However
like
you want. Just
okay.
yeah, maybe actor or
Yeah, like an actor. Sometimes I think of like an actor. Like who would I want to have? You know who? Actually, I think Jackie Chan.
oh yeah,
Could you? Cause I would do it where like uh I would do it the same way I did with the Macaulay Culkin video with Home Alone, where it's like as long as the person is comfortable doing it, to kind of just give the fans what they kind of would expect out of it. Like, okay, here's the joke, but now we're gonna like, you know, like with Macaulay Culkin, like obviously he's done the Home Alone thing a lot. Like he's had it happen all the time, and it's like uh where I mean, it's also rare. Like he doesn't typically do like Home Alone sketches or anything like that. So I knew this was kind of like, hey, is this cool? And he's like, is this going to be stale or has this been done to death? And he's like, if it was stale, like we would have told you,
yeah,
So
dude.
with Jackie Chan, I think the idea, yeah, would be similar to that. Where if I were to have him in a nerd episode, I would do like the Jackie Chan NES game, obviously stage some kind of fight scene in the room where he would use the games as props, maybe the controllers as nunchucks and things like that. How he does in his films, he uses everything in the scene as like a weapon of some kind.
You gonna fight him?
I don't think I'd want to fight him, but you know what? I mean, it would be funny. So it's like, I mean, he's if he was doing the choreography, like he would he would be able to walk anybody through it.
Oh
He'd be like,
sure.
if I was just like, hey, you choreograph this scene however you think this would work, he would know what to do.
What if there's your ending to the nerd? Like you just have him get killed by Jackie Chan in the most
Oh,
epic fight scene in the world. Oh man.
yeah.
You mentioned Macaulay Culkin. I remember when we were selling your merchandise, I remember Chad yelling at me. He goes, "Hey, come here!" And
Yeah.
I go, "What? What do you guys?" He goes, "Look who just ordered nerd DVDs." And like God,
Oh,
it was Macaulay Culkin, and I was like, "That can't be the Macaulay Culkin. What?" And
yeah.
and I remember like, "What? How did that happen?" Number one, the idea that we're fulfilling this order to Macaulay Culkin. Number two, he knows about the nerd. He actually went to
Yeah.
Screw Attack store, and like it was like, what? Oh my God.
Yeah, that was like a mutual connection for a long time. Like I remember Chad called me just to let me know about that, and I was like, "Well, that's cool." But always in the back of my head, I was just kind of like, "Well, I mean, I don't know if that's really him or not. Like, it could be somebody with the same name, or somebody did it as a joke, or who knows? Like, just who
Sure,
knows?"
sure.
But then I'd hear like more than one person, at least three people who I knew Macaulay Culkin or had worked with him, and had mentioned that he watches my videos, and I was like, "Oh, that's really awesome." And then finally, when we made the Home Alone episode happen, it was actually the idea came. It was my old roommate, a roommate from 20 years ago, who works with him, and said, "Would you like to do like a Home Alone episode with Mac?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, totally." So whatever he's comfortable with, So yeah, we had him over, and it was so cool because it was just like filming with anybody you know. It was like an old friend almost. It was like, yeah, he's like, yeah, I've been watching you for like a long time. I'm like, yeah, I think I've been watching you for 30 years. So like from Home Alone. So um and it was weird, like when you work with somebody like that, it's kind of like if I met him under any other circumstances, I wouldn't have even like brought up Home Alone. It's like he probably hears about it so
Sure.
much. And then so I end up filming, like reenacting the Home Alone trap scene with him. I'm like, I feel like the biggest jerk. I was like, is this cool? And he's like, yeah, it's totally cool. And I remember it was weird because I just would forget, like, because when you film an episode with anybody, lots of times we reference the movies where, uh, we'll use a line from the movie that the game is based on or whatever. And I'm like, oh, say that line about the pizza or whatever, like, a lovely cheese pizza, from Home Alone. And he says it, and I'm like, oh, that's a really good. Oh, of course, it's the same guy doing it.
It's pretty good. Oh, that's right. It's you.
Yeah. So it just went very natural. It was just the same as film with any of your buddies. And we hope to film more stuff with them soon. We got the Home Alone thing out of the way, so now we can just do whatever.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
His brother is gone on to become like a really good actor. Have you seen
Kieran.
Have you seen Succession?
No, I haven't seen Succession.
God, his brother is outstanding in it. He's like this like sexaholic, druggy, like power hungry, but still extremely inferior to the rest of his family. Like it's there's so many layers of depth in that show. He's really good, really good. So
cool. I'll have to see that one. Yeah.
Yeah. It's on. I think it's on HBO, but it's a really good series. It's in depth.
Yeah.
Man. Well, dude, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I feel like we've been talking forever, and you give.
Oh, it's all right. Yeah, it's good catching up,
dude. It's so much fun. Like I would love to do this again sooner than later. And I appreciate it. And thanks for being a friend for all these years. And I can't wait to get together again and just hang out and discover more silly arcade games.
We should go to that bowling alley again or something.
Dude, oh my gosh, let's do it. I'll tell you, I'll reach out. I'm going to reach out to Brandon Jones,
okay.
And I'm going to say, hey, what was that?
Yeah.
And when this pandemic's over, I'll tell you what, we're gonna make that happen. That'd be really fun.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do some math. Let's see. That was.
I think I can. You know what?
Yeah. Okay.
I bet I can find it for you.
So that was 2007. So maybe what if we did a 15-year in 2022? We do a 15-year anniversary of the bowling meetup.
That would be awesome.
I'll find.
Do you have any pictures, any video of it?
I do.
Okay.
I've seen them. I do have some. I'll find them. I'll find.
Yeah, I would say hang on to it, and then at the event, like if we do this, like either like bring the pictures there or like I don't know, like. And anybody 100%. Who was there is going to get invited.
Yeah, so. for sure. Oh, that's so. Let's do it, man. Okay, so it'll be June something 2022. Clear your calendars now. So
cool. And that podcast still, like the Side Scrollers podcast. I think I still have that.
Oh, do you?
I think I do. I'll have to look, but I remember I saved that one because it has the audio of us there. I mean, it's just kind of like a recap,
Yeah.
At least it's something from the event,
Dude, if you have that, please send it to me. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Oh my gosh. All right, buddy. Well, I'll catch up with you sooner than later. And I look forward to doing this again. It's awesome. You
absolutely.
You are you're an early guest. I don't even know if you're going to be the first guest, second guest, third guest on this podcast I'm doing, but I'm glad I got a chance to talk to you early on this because this is like I said, we have so many stories. I feel like I could probably talk to you for another 2 hours, but we'll need to do that another time for sure. So,
absolutely, yeah.
Was that fun or what? That was so fun. I loved everything about that. Once again, we're back next Monday for you on YouTube and on iTunes at noon o'clock. It'll be premiering noon Central Time, and make sure you subscribe. Once again, if you're here, wherever you're listening to this, so you get notified whenever it goes live. I would love to know who you'd like to see on this show, who you'd love to see in future podcasts. Let me know in the comments below. And please, for the love of God, can I get a like spike for YouTubers? Finally, once again, this show is brought to you by you via patreon.com/CraigSkitz. I would greatly appreciate any support you can lend to help grow this show and allow me to produce it more than just once a week. That's the ultimate goal here. Talk to more friends and entertain you guys literally every single day. Thank you so much for your support. We'll see you guys next week, Monday, with Tommy Tallarico, founder of Video Games Live. You know him from pretty much everything. You may not know him, but you know Tommy. I'll see you guys Monday at noon Central Time.